Amazing. So I'm here with Jonas West from YouTube, and I'll just give you the opportunity to introduce yourself and your general kind of philosophy of health, etc., and the sort of stuff that you talk about on your channel.
Sure. Well, glad to be here. My name is Jonas West. That's what I go by on YouTube and Instagram and all the other places that I'm present at. And I do a lot of health related topics online right now. But really, there's also a lot of other stuff which we could possibly get into. But basically, right now, my mission is, well, basically helping people getting back in touch with their natural health, their thriving self, and all of that, and doing that through diet and lifestyle and all these different things that I talk about on my YouTube and my Instagram. So you can definitely go there for more details. So that's like the primary thing that I think most people online know me for. But I am also a very creative type of person, and I'm working on a lot of things that are not related to diet in terms of both like spirituality and philosophical stuff. I don't really know how to label it, but I really like doing creative stuff and creating documentaries and basically being creative. So that's a big part of me as well. It's not just all health, and then also I'm very much into the natural living. Obviously, that goes without saying with the stuff I produce, but also like in a more raw physical sense. So I live uh, close to nature, and my goal is to have be self-sufficient in terms of food and all of that stuff. And yeah, there's a lot to it. So that's the short story, I would say.
Yeah, this is one of the things that in a book that I'm reading right now, it's called Climate, A New Story by Charles Eisenstein, is he talks about this idea of that in order to heal our problems with, exploitation of natural resources, etc., and that's not necessarily just limited to anthropogenic, global warming, or at least the way that that's typically presented, but to have a healthy environment and connection with one another, we need to kind of reconnect with our natural selves. And he calls this like a story of interbeing, that there needs to be this philosophy whereby we're able to recognize that we're all independent on one another and we're not a separate from nature in some way that we can kind of superimpose our own values on it, but are instead the fullest expression. We have duties to tend and care for nature. And it sounds like you're saying something kind of similar for health, is that if we can connect to our natural self, then we'll become healthy ourselves and we'll be able to have healthy relationships as a species. So I guess what is the kind of philosophy or philosophical basis for behind, a layer behind the health stuff that you're putting out?
Yeah. So I think we are all just intrinsically connected, and we are all like one, or whatever you would call it, that like old idea. And I think that we are just have been somehow so disconnected for the last 200 300 years from nature and from what it means to live in a natural symbiotic relationship with the natural world, and we have just completely forgotten it. And in the same way, we have gone more and more towards like the mechanical side of life and towards the machines, and our bodies are sort of starting to reflect that, and even our mindset and our thoughts are starting to reflect that. So we are being ourselves caught up in this sort of industrial machinic mindset, which is just removing us, in my view, from the purest sense of what this life is about, which is basically just being a living, breathing being that is like living this separate, finite realm, or so it seems. And yeah, I think there's a like when you get to the core of that, you really understand and you feel in a like emotional way what life was supposed to be and what it was supposed to embody and what this experience is about. And for me, that whole feeling and emotion has sort of been removed by this move away from nature. So I think to get that feeling back more in ourselves and in everyone who wants to have that, we need to get back in touch with nature, and we need to do that from the inside out, because that's how this thing has happened. And I think for me personally, that the biggest change in terms of that has been from diet and from changing my environment from the inside. And it's like my cells have started speaking together and everything sort of gets smoothed out, and that sort of manifests itself in the outside, and you view literally reality in a whole different way. So for me, that's like the big philosophical part of this whole dietary thing, is just I think that when you get a good understanding of what your body needs in a natural sense, then you're just gonna be the highest potential expression that you were originally supposed to embody. So I think we're all just like different expressions. Like if you would see like the whole of humanity as the music industry, we are all individual songs, and there's also genres. So some people, they bundle together in genres. They have similar interests and similar ways of viewing the world, but they're all specific, unique songs. They're just similar. They're the same genre, but we're all different songs, and we all have this different expression that we are trying to get out into the world. And I believe that God is perfect, and He made everyone here have a specific purpose, that there's a spot to fill for these people. And I think we've just gotten so far removed from that. But I think when we get back in touch with that, and it's a hard thing to sort of put into words, I think everything just sort of gets in tune with each other, and everyone has something they're doing that they're happy about and they're getting fulfilled with. And it's the same that goes on inside of your body in a microcosmic way, I would say. When all the cells, when you get healthy, all the cells start to communicate together. That's a big part of why we want to get healthy, is that cell to cell communication is really what creates an organism and creates health inside of us. So when cells begin to talk together and perform their roles, so nerve cells want to be nerve cells and blood cells want to be blood cells, that is when our body turns on, and we basically have the potential to embody what we are supposed to embody. So I don't know if that makes sense at all, but I don't usually talk so much about these like ideas, so I may not present them in the clearest possible way. So you'll have to ask me questions, I guess, if it does make sense. But that's how I would put it, I guess, in short.
Oh, no problem. That was good. It's very clear, good explanation. I guess then, like practically speaking, how do we, people feel alienated by, I guess, the modern industrial world through nature? How do we reconnect with our natural selves, even though it seems distant to us, and reach this kind of peak human state of which you speak about?
Yeah. So obviously I have all these different dietary methods and things that have worked for me and have worked for all the people that I've helped in my health program and all that stuff. So that's obviously what you want to do. You want to like really understand what has happened to the food system, first of all, in our modern world, and how that serves to just remove us from nature at the like cellular level. So you need to really uh, gain a lot of knowledge, I guess, particularly through the internet is the easiest way for people, about what is really going on in the food supply. What are they spraying on the foods? How is it grown? Because when you understand that a living natural being could never subsist on that and just be their fully embodied, full potential self. So there's obviously a structural thing when it comes to diet and lifestyle aspects and all of this. And that's what I talk so much about. But I think the primary first step is just going within and really sort of getting in tune with your own intuition, because that's the only way that you'll ever sort of move towards the actions that will take you out of this. I think for me, and I think it is for everyone, in the beginning, there is just sort of this intuition, this drive towards something isn't right. There's something here I need to research or whatever. For me, it was with diet. I was very healthy. I was doing bodybuilding. I had big muscles. I was eating chicken and salads and all the stuff that the government was telling me. I was moving towards plant-based. So I was fine in a worldly sort of sense, but I had this intrusive thought all the time that something was wrong, and I could feel in my body like I was kind of bloated. I was like, this is not normal from eating all these salads and whatever. I just had this intuitive sense that there was something deeply wrong about the things I was being told, and if I was going to continue down this seemingly successful route, that like it was gonna not go good for me. So I think there is just sort of something that you can really put into logic or left brain sort of concepts that you just sort of have to tune into, and that tuning in my opinion, also means like tuning out. So that's a big part of it for me is really escaping the whole rat race that we are in these cities, and escaping all the noise that's in there, like the literal noise, like just get out in nature where it's completely quiet, and try to be with that, and try to not be around people. So a lot of people, they are very social, and that's obviously good. I don't think people shouldn't be social, but I think so many people today are social to such an extent that they can't really feel themselves anymore. And I think a lot of people would benefit from going within by tuning all of that stuff out, and maybe like taking a long time for themselves if they want to, and just sort of feeling themselves, and then acting on that, if it's that simple. I don't know if it's that simple for everyone, but that's just what really opened me up to making these changes in my life.
Yeah, and would you say that there are a lot of people who say they now struggle with kind of mental health and depression, anxiety, feeling like you have no purpose is a lot. Do you think a lot of that is actually a problem, not just of mental health, but also of physical health, that people are eating, foods that are actually poisonous to them or unhealthy to them in some way and not living an active lifestyle, etc.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's both. It's so interconnected. I mean, in my view, depression is like a spiritual thing. Like you are so removed from your core purpose, from what you were supposed to do in this realm or experience or whatever we would call it. And that manifests itself like you are so far removed. And it's actually has a function. If you think about it, depression is trying to show you something is wrong, and the way it does that is by making you feel terrible, so you take action towards not feeling like shit, basically. um but yeah, obviously there's so much medication going on, which, I mean, uh, I talk a lot about like the gut microbiome, for example, just to get to the like physical stuff. We have so many neurotransmitters and hormones and whatever, which is basically in control of our emotions and how we feel, which are produced inside the gut. So, for example, the one I bring up a lot is serotonin. 95% of your serotonin is produced within your gut. And that is what people call the happiness hormone. It's what makes us have a happy, it's basically the happiness hormone. It's a very powerful hormone, and if 95% of that is made in the gut, and if people are eating things that are destroying their gut, they are living in city environments where there's a lot of radiation that destroys the gut. They are sanitizing their hands all the time. They're doing all these antiviral things that is destroying their gut. Basically, when you look into it, all the things that we have in this modern environment that is detrimental to our health are also antibiotic in nature. And antibiotic literally means anti-life, and it kills, it sterilizes your gut, and it makes it unable to produce the feelings that are supposed to arise, and all the neurohormones. I said serotonin. We also have GABA, which is like a relaxation sort of calming hormone. It's also produced in the gut. Dopamine also produced in the gut, a lot of it. So, and also there's this whole thing with like gut feeling and stuff that also ties into this. So if you're sterilizing your gut with terrible diet, you're not getting the right microbes in there to produce the right neurotransmitters and the right hormones, and basically the right signals to tell your body and beyond that what is really going on in this realm. Then you're removing yourself from your gut feeling, and you're not gonna react towards what is happening inside of you anymore, both on a like physical and more sort of spiritual level. You're not gonna feel those signals, so you're gonna be cut off from your own inner guidance, and you're gonna look outward towards authorities like health authorities. You're gonna look towards educational authorities that are saying you just need to do this, get this education, eat this stuff, and you'll be good. And people just do it, and they'll get more and more depressed. So yeah, it's just a negative feedback loop. So people really need, I can emphasize that, not to go within, both first of all in terms of diet, and I think then the mind level sort of starts going within as well. And that's when we really have the potential of some sort of like rebirth away from all of this. So I forgot your initial question, sorry. I hope I answered that.
Yeah, you did, and that kind of takes a step out. I was initially asking about just like mental health and a lot of the problems that people have and how that relates
Hmm.
to physical health. But yeah, you answered that. The what taking even a step a little more abstract, like what do you see as the biggest problems preventing planetary unification and shifting humanity on a path as you and I would like to a more positive and enlightened future?
Yeah, that's a big question and a tough question, I would say. I don't know if I am qualified to just give that one specific diagnosis, but I think it is just, when it comes down to it, might sound a little cliche, but it's just like this illusion of separation. Like we have created this sort of weird separation illusion that, like, if you think about it, why do we even feel separated? Probably because we were all one in some weird dimension somewhere, and we sent ourselves down here. And to do that, and to have the experience of time, and to feel art and feel love, we have to separate ourselves from other beings. So it has a function. But then people sort of have gotten lost in that separation, and they are literally like convinced that we are separated from each other. And what I do to you, or what I do to this tree, or what I do to this agricultural field with my pesticides and whatever, it doesn't come back to bite me because I'm separate from you. So I think that's really the root cause of a lot of our issues, is that we feel separate from other people. Because when we feel separate from other people, and that when we are not doing these things, we are actually doing them to ourselves. When we don't feel that, we we very easily just start like scamming each other, and we have like all these big marketing fields we have today, where it's just billions and billions of dollars going into humans, tricking other humans into buying things that they don't need, so those humans can get more money, and that manifests itself in the financial system, in the way we work. So we just scammed ourselves so much by thinking that we are completely separate from each other, and that we are not completely fucking each other over all the time by like uh, yeah, doing all these scams on ourselves. So that, I would say, is the root cause, but obviously there's a lot of different things to this.
Yeah, I agree with you and resonate with a lot of what you said. Do you see, if we kind of moving beyond that kind of story of separation, if there is this kind of intrinsic, interconnectedness to us and to the earth and with one another as a civilization, and we're doing the opposite of that, do you kind of see that as having, that there's going to be a major likelihood of some sort of biosphere collapse, or basically terrible effects on the earth from our kind of present trajectory?
Yeah, I mean, for sure, and I think it's already here. And yeah, it's been happening for a long time, and I think we've been going this down this road for so long that there is this very big potential for like some big catastrophe. And I'm not talking about global warming or climate change or whatever they keep pushing down people's throats in the news. A lot of that is also a distraction, but it is, like, no one can disagree that the way we have treated nature for the past, like, since the Industrial Revolution, is just, it's just been such a horrifying experience for this earth. And something is going to happen that is going to release all that energy that's been pinned up. And I'm not saying it's going to be like doomsday and everything's going to go Armageddon all at once. It will probably be released in a controlled manner, if I were to say anything. And again, this is a big topic, and this is actually a part of the documentary that I'm currently working on, which I've been working on for over a year. So I'll definitely have a lot of stuff to say about that in that documentary. But always think of the earth as like one big organism, just like our body is an organism. I think of the macrocosmic aspect of the earth as an organism. And it's almost like an AI machine sort of organism. It has like code built into it, that when this happens, you need to do this. When this nutrient is here, you need to give it to this plant, and you have all these different microbes. Where it's a very complicated system, but the goal of that system is to promote life. And when you have 8 billion people, or 7 billion, or however many people who are just doing the exact opposite of creating more life, the earth is going to respond to that by, okay, there's a problem here. The humans are destroying life on the planet. So how do we solve that? Maybe they try to do some stuff first of all, or the earth tries to do some stuff, like maybe impact these people's consciousness, maybe try to make them repent or something like that. But if that never works and people just go on and on, no matter how much they're presented with evidence about how the earth is dying, how the species are dying, how we are cutting down all the trees, how we're destroying everything with monocropping and the soil is dead. Everyone knows this nowadays, I would say, almost everyone, but nothing is happening. We're still just doing it, doing it, doing it. And we're still just pulling out oil from the ground with like big fracking operations, which contaminates tap water and makes people unhealthy and destroys the earth. We just keep destroying the earth. Then that life system that is built into the earth, almost like an AI life system, that is just gonna go, okay, these humans are literally just going to destroy all life on this planet, so I'm gonna have to flood this whole place, or I'm gonna have to at least decrease the population a lot. So I think that's just, I mean, inevitable in a way. Not that I'm saying that's gonna happen or I'm making predictions. I'm just saying that that's how I see the Earth as working, and I can't make any specific predicaments about that. Like half the Earth is gonna go away. I don't know. Maybe nothing is gonna happen, but that's just what I think. And I think that like some sort of collapse is inevitable, or not even collapse, but at least something that dramatically changes life for what from what it has been for the last like 200-300 years. I think that is inevitable to happen. So people are gonna go back to a much more simple and close relationship to nature, whether they want to or not, because I think they're gonna have to be forced into it at some point.
Yeah, and that, if we are, not separate from an earth, but we are part of the earth who is, this kind of living being that interconnects all of this life, then our life is the life of the earth, and there's going to always be this kind of illness when there's a disconnect between the two, I guess. Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely. That's a good way of putting it.
Yeah, and the is so one of the things that your channel was was notable for is for a couple of videos that are putting forward this idea of terrain theory for the to kind of explain illness and and sickness in the human body. It is that what well could you explain that, and then what is the I guess the formal problems with germ theory, and are viruses still causing disease in some way, even though that's even though it also is a faculty of the human body, or is that not happening at all?
Hmm. Yeah, again, a very interesting topic for me. Basically, to put it short, what the world is currently following is germ theory, and what I'm advocating for, and what a lot of people, alternative kind of people, are advocating for, is a change from the germ theory, which, by the way, has caused us to be more malnourished, more toxic, more sick, more diseased, more mental health problems than ever before. So I don't think anyone can say that all of the inventions that have come from germ theory has been exactly useful for humanity. Obviously, they have been useful for people who are like dying and they get antibiotics and they live. I'm not totally against everything promoted by germ theory, but I think there is this sort of schism that has happened from germ theory, where we are completely oblivious to the root cause, and it's sort of again this separate materialistic. We can only conceptualize what we can see through our microscopes, and therefore that's what we are gonna construct our entire worldview out of. And I think by doing that, you're gonna cut yourself off from almost everything. And I think that's the big problem with germ theory. So germ theory really comes down to like bacteria and viruses are the main components. And what germ theory says is that there's one bacteria for every disease and there's one virus for every disease. So if you have E. coli, for example, bacteria inside your body, that E. coli bacteria is a pathogen. It has come in from the outside and is trying to kill you. And what germ theory says is the exact opposite. That germ, the E. coli, has manifested inside of you by, for example, eating up toxic waste because you are living a very toxic life. You're eating not good stuff. So this bacteria is here manifesting itself and it's growing in size because it's eating so much toxic waste. And the way we treat this disease that this bacteria is seemingly causing is not by killing the bacteria, as germ theory says, by just putting antibiotics and antivirals and all these toxins on it so it goes away and the symptoms are sort of removed, but we haven't really looked at the root cause at all. What terrain theory does instead is acknowledge that there's probably a root cause, that this bacteria, or it could be parasite even, or virus has arisen inside your body. And the way we want it to go away is to fix the root cause. So we want to eat healthier and we want to do all these different things depending on what the particular problem is. So yeah, that's basically germ theory or terrain theory, germ theory and terrain theory. And I don't know if that was really the clearest explanation I could get, but yeah.
Yeah, so I agree with, I guess, the fundamental premise of that, which is that, illness comes from a lack of health and the need to kind of have this catalyst for some way that you need to change your life. And if that's not needed, then that germ and that contagious disease won't have an effect. But it seems to me like like a virus is still doing something. Like for example, like for COVID-19 seems to be caused by the SARS-CoV-2 virus, and people, if they are in proximity of others who have that, will then contract that. So I guess how within terrain theory, if it's just a result of like individual health, do you have a model for contagious disease?
Yeah, so that's pretty interesting because that's exactly the schism that I'm talking about, that people have had so ingrained into their minds that if all these people are getting sick in the same place, then it must be a virus. That's the only explanation. But that's what happens in any environmental case where you have someone getting sick. Maybe there's something in the water, maybe there's radiation, maybe there's some environmental thing that's happening here that is promoting this particular symptoms of manifesting themselves. And in terms of viruses, I mean, I don't know if this is going out on YouTube, so I won't go in depth too much because it could be censored. But in terms of viruses, for example, I talk about this in one of my videos. What like many terrain theory proponents are saying is going on with viruses is kind of similar to the bacteria scenario, but it is quite different. It's basically when you look at what they call a virus under the microscope, it has a very, very similar structure, and it basically looks exactly the same as what they call exosomes. And exosomes are basically extracellular debris. So it's basically the cells that are taking itself apart from some kind of toxic exposure or radiation. There's so many different reasons for why that could be happening. And when that happens, your cell is going to break itself apart, and it's going to start sending out those exosomes, which are basically informational molecules, out in the environment. So anyone who is sharing your space is going to have that information coming into their body. So their body can say, okay, I have to detox as well because this person is exposed to whatever toxin, and I'm in the same environment, and I've also been exposed to this toxin, and he's giving me this information so I can protect myself. And then it's going to produce virus symptoms or whatever you want to call it. And we see this all over the natural world. It's embedded into everything that's also non-human, like plants. They have all these informational molecules. So if a tree is exposed to some toxin or some disease or whatever, it's going to send out like polyphenols, I think it's called. I can't remember, sorry, but it's going to send out all these informational molecules to tell the other plants in its group that it's getting sick and that they should activate detoxification pathways and immediately. But if you're already healthy, for example, that's why you see some people don't get sick when there's a virus outbreak or when there's the flu, even though they have been together with their partner who is also sick, or they've been sleeping with them and all this stuff, they still don't get sick. Why is that? That's because they have a terrain that isn't in need of this detoxification. So yeah, that's my short take on that. But it's again a topic I could talk about for a very long time.
Yeah. What is the proper relationship you see if that you see if as you've said that this has gotten kind of out of check? What is the proper relationship that you see between humans and technology?
Yeah, well, it's just a tool, I think. Technology. I mean, it's we have to serve. Technology always has to serve us in some kind of thing that we were going to do before the technology. And when we start to serve the technology, just to serve as a, by what I mean by that is if you start going on your phone because you have been watching so much TikTok that your dopamine receptors are literally not able to be satisfied by anything other than going on TikTok and getting stimulated by those videos, then that's you serving technology. You're literally serving these big tech guys who get all the data from you watching all these videos. So that's the shadow part of it, and I think just the good part of any technology, it could be anything, is if that serves you, then it's good technology. Uh, yeah, that's what I would say, I guess.
Yeah. And then what and then how can one how should one what's your best like general advice for people to improve their health and their also not just their physical health, but also what you've talked about with like their spiritual well-being and mental health and all of that stuff?
Yeah. So I mean, um, do you mean like in terms of this technology aspect we just talked about, or just in general?
It can be, but not in particular.
Yeah, okay. Well, I think it's just like this thing again, getting back to nature is really, I think, the root cause of so many transformational journeys we can go on. So I would just really want people to get back to nature. And when I say what I mean by that is, first of all, not ideally living in a city or like suburb where you're just not connected to any sort of natural environment on a daily basis, like no forest. You really, or no agricultural fields, or there's no animals. You really become so disconnected from everything, also the food you eat and how it's produced and everything, when you just have no view of it whatsoever. So I think getting out where it's more rural and away from also all the toxic aspects that we find inside of cities, like from radiation and stuff like that. I think that's I think that's very important. And then literally just getting closer and closer to nature. So something I'm very much into is grounding, which has also gained a lot of notoriety through the last few years. Literally putting your bare feet in the earth, because we are, as I also talk about a lot, electromagnetic beings, and the earth is literally electromagnetically charged to help balance our body. So we have all these positive electrons building up in our body when we are not in contact with the earth, and when we step on the earth, or we touch a tree, or we just are in contact with something natural connected to the earth, those positive electrons start to be swapped out by the negative electrons from the earth, and our body voltage levels out. And that can have profound effects on your health and also on your mental aspects and everything. And it's not just this woo-woo spiritual idea. You can literally measure your body voltage with devices that show how your electrons decrease when you stand on the earth and all of this. And yeah, again, it goes for all other systems on the earth, like even our technology. It plays by the same principles, like TV lines or whatever you call it, like those technological wires. They always have to be grounded for them to work, and our bodies are the same way. So if you don't have those technological TV wires, if they're not grounded, then you're gonna have snow on the screen, and it's gonna not present a clear image to you. And it's the same with our body. If we are not in contact with the earth, if we are not putting our bare feet on the ground and stuff like that, then we are, as I talked about earlier, our cells are not going to talk together in the way that they need to, and that is going to manifest in our mind as well. It's not going to follow that original expression it was supposed to embody. It's not going to follow its life mission, its gut feeling, and all of this. So, like literally, just getting back in touch with the earth, I think, is the most important thing for any human in this day and age.
What are your favorite foods that like you advise people for their diet a lot? There's many billions of dollars that are spent every year on diet, but many of those can actually make people's lives worse. So what foods do you recommend that people eat to get healthier?
Yeah. So again, there's two aspects that I really see everyone I help nowadays and every person in general missing. And it's really the two natural things that have made our ancestors thrive so much, which has, yeah, basically it's what we're lacking the most of in terms of health nowadays, in my opinion. And the first one is fat. And yeah, we have sort of in the last 50 years or something like that been scammed into thinking we should be eating less fat and that fat makes you fat. And that's not how it works in the body at all. All of our hormones, all of our glands which are basically also these signaling chakras inside the body. They are not going to work if you don't have the right fats in your body. And most modern humans are so deprived in the fats that matter. And those fats are mostly animal fats, like fat from meat, fat from dairy, like cream and butter and stuff like that, egg yolks. You can also get it from some plant sources like coconut is a decent one, but primarily the animal fats is what people has been really scammed into thinking is going to cause them cancer and all of that. And it's the exact opposite. It's the one thing that I see most people missing nowadays. And a lot of the guys I help, especially if they're younger guys, and they come to me and I tell them to eat more fat and to increase the animal fats and the egg yolks and all this. They come back a week and sometimes days later, and their energy is just through the roof. And that is because literally their testosterone is going up so high from this lack of animal fat that they're finally reintroducing. And testosterone, or sorry, saturated fat, which is what we found in these animal foods, and also cholesterol, which we've also been told is so bad, is a precursor to testosterone and other sex hormones within the body. So it's literally those signaling molecules which is supposed to carry reproduction and carry life in this in our body. So it's a very important thing to get these fats in, and I could talk a lot about that as well. Again, I talk a lot about the quality aspect, which is very important. Don't go out there and eat like factory farmed meat or buy very low quality products. You want to go organic and all this, but again, it's a long story. I have a lot of that on my social media. But the second thing I was going to talk about was microbes, as I also mentioned here earlier, and that ties into the whole germ theory, terrain theory sort of thing. And basically, we have become so sterilized from this dominant germ theory schism that has dominated our world, all pharmaceuticals, basically a lot of the things that are used to grow our food, like the pesticides and the glyphosates and the GMO and the heavy metals, they also kill microbes in the soil. And consequently, there's less microbes in our food and there's less microbes in our gut. And that manifests itself in so many different things like autism, Alzheimer's, these things that people never connect to diet has been shown to originate from our gut microbiome and what microbes we have in there. So a big part of what I do is also introducing microbes into people's health and into their daily lives. And my favorite way of doing that, which I believe is the most powerful magical thing that we can possibly eat for health or drink, I guess, is called kefir, and particularly raw milk kefir. So again, I talk about this so much on my YouTube, so I really think people should go there if they're interested in this stuff to watch those videos. But in short, it's a fermented milk, natural milk drink that is filled with a lot of beneficial bacteria and yeast, which are the exact bacterial and yeasts that our bodies and our guts are in such need of nowadays. And again, it's a long topic, but I'm very much into that. And also I'm into raw milk as well. I have a documentary on that on my YouTube channel. And that's basically unheated, untreated milk, because most milk in the modern world, basically all milk in the modern world that you buy in the store is treated and killed of life, and people have like stomach issues when they drink that stuff. But with raw milk and with raw milk kefir, because it has the microbes and the enzymes and everything your gut needs in there, people can tolerate that much more. So those are the two things. I sort of went on a tangent, but those are the two simple things that people really need to understand the importance of: the fat, the natural, healthy animal fat that so many people are deprived of, and the microbes, the like living workmen of nature that need to inhabit our body so we can really achieve our best state. Yeah.
Yeah, and then you talk about factory farming. I guess do you accept the kind of both there's this health critique with and also the animal welfare critique which people have put forward for like these very like tightly packed like industrial farming as opposed to like more organic free range that sort of stuff. And does that have an effect on actually the health of the product?
So sorry, can you just ask it again? So I
Yeah,
didn't
so
quite get it.
yeah, so do you kind of accept that critique of this very like industrial factory farming that it's has bad effects on the health of the meat and also
Hmm.
is not pleasant for the animals who are living there.
Okay, yeah, I got it. Yeah. Definitely, yes. I'm very much agreeing with the vegans here. Like I think this is like a lot of people when they're vegan and they hear me speak, they think I'm some sort of carnivore advocate or like I'm anti-vegan and stuff like that. And I guess I am anti-vegan in the sense that I think you're gonna be malnourished if you're gonna eat an only plant-based diet, and I would never advise anyone do that long term because it can have terrible effects, in my opinion. You may not notice it short term, but long term, there's all these different things. But yeah, I very, very much agree with the vegans when it comes to, and this is the thing that I hope we can really unite on. Like when I say we, the people who are like pro meat and the vegans, like I hope people can just unite on the fact that what we need is not less meat or less plants. What we need is more natural meat and more natural plants. Because when you have meat from a cow that has been walking inside all of its life. It has never seen sunlight. It has never touched grass. It has only eaten genetically modified organisms in the form of corn and grain. And it's so removed from nature than that any organism really can be. If you're going to eat that piece of food is a piece of information. When you put that information inside your body, it's going to be broken down into all the different aspects that food are. And that information is going to be manifested inside of your body. And when you contrast that to something that has been living in nature, been eating grass, been running around, have been happy, has had contact with humans, not just machines and tractors and all this, then you're going to fill your body with something that's actually going to be telling you about that environment that this has been living in. So that's one way I could put it. Also, there's just this more physical aspect of all the toxins we would find in conventional meat or milk or eggs or plant foods. It's not just with meat. There's all these industrial farming practices that is dominating at least 80% of the world's food supply. So a big a part of getting healthier is also going down this organic route and even going better than organic and really understanding. That's why I mentioned earlier, really understanding how food is made and grown in the modern world. Because when you truly understand that, you understand that no one can be healthy on a modern diet if they don't take the quality aspect serious. Because it has also been shown in many studies that there's just so much more nutrition in stuff that's grown naturally. For example, an organic tomato will have 9 times the iron of an non-organic tomato. If you have eggs, for example, eggs from chickens that have been walking around on grass and eating bugs and all the natural things that they eat, it's going to have so much higher levels of vitamin A. It's going to have so much higher levels of cholesterol and saturated fats, which are going to help your hormones. But if you go for like a egg from a chicken who has been in a cage and has never even moved, it has never seen sunlight, and it has only gotten very, very bad feed that has no nutrients in it, that egg is going to be a bomb of toxins and estrogen, and it's not going to support your health at all. So, what I always say is today, food is not just food. You have to really understand how that food was grown. If it's an egg, how was it produced? What chicken did it come from? Otherwise, you can't really say this food is unhealthy. I see all these people walk around saying broccoli is healthy or eggs are unhealthy. But what people really should be more focusing on is the specific circumstances that that food has come to existence under, because then that's really what determines whether it's going to support your health or not. And obviously, there's a lot of other stuff to this as well, but just to keep it short.
Yeah, and one of the things we haven't touched on too much yet is exercise. If someone were to come to you for one of your programs and say, Jonas, what should I do to, get in good physical shape, feel healthy, vital? Should I, be lifting heavy weights? Should I be running? Should I be doing yoga? What would you be kind of your general recommendation to people?
Yeah. So exercise is obviously a very important aspect as well. Again, it is sort of a natural thing that we have made kind of unnatural in the modern environment, because we would naturally just be active and that would be our exercise. But now we have gotten so inactive that we go out of our way to go to the gym and these very unnatural places to sort of get that back. But that is whatever it is. I would just say that, yeah, we are like every other living creature on this planet. We need to move and we need to somehow activate our muscles and our bodies to be healthy. And the best way to do that in a way that's going to support your body and mind the most is to find something that you find enjoyable, whatever that is. And for me, when I wasn't really into this whole more holistic version of health, I loved working out in the gym, going there like 6 days a week, 2 hours a day, all the time, all year. And I was basically like doing natural bodybuilding, and I really enjoyed that. But when I got more in touch and I got the right foods into my body, I noticed from doing that very intense workout over all those years, I was actually stressing my body way too much. So that's another aspect of exercise that I see not a lot of people focus on today. That if you over exercise, or if you're not in tune with your body again, if you're not getting the right signals from your body because it doesn't has to have the right nutrition, microbes, all of this, then you're not going to be able to feel when you should naturally stop. And also you're dousing yourself in caffeine and pre-workout and all this. So you're really cutting yourself off from the natural limits of your body. And that might manifest itself in big and beautiful muscles. But internally, you're going to have all this cortisol and stress, which is going to build up into mental health problems and injuries later on, and maybe even serious health issues on the long term. So that's just a thing I really want to mention, is that a lot of people think you have to exercise much more than you actually need to. Even going for like walks, long walks, is one of my favorite exercises nowadays. I do also go to the gym and work out maybe 2 or 3 times a week maximum. And then I just try to be as active as possible, walk around, and I live on this place where we also have animals and stuff. So I go out and I help with the cows, or I help with some other agricultural activity, and that's also a workout. So there's all these different things, and I would just really I hope people could find their, what I say to people, I should say, is that people need to find their own, like something they can keep up and do on a regular basis, whether that's yoga or whether that's walking or whether that's going to the gym or running. Whatever really you like is what is going to be the best version for you. Because if you just do yoga because someone told you to, you're not going to do it for the long term. You're only going to do it for like a month, maybe 2 months, and then you're going to slowly fizzle out, and then you're going to start again, and then it's just going to go on. And that's just never successful in my experience. So whatever you can make consistent is the best thing, because then you can just do that for years and be happy, and you're going to be healthy as well.
Yeah. And one of the things that sort of distinguishes you from a lot of other kind of health channels is that you talk interestingly about God and philosophy and that sort of stuff on your channel. Like how does that kind of theological aspect also fit into the kind of framework and philosophy that you've built around health?
Yeah. So what do you mean? Like, sorry, I find it hard to understand that question.
Like how do you I get how does your view on God, like who is God, and how does that kind of help you think about health and our place in the world?
Okay. Well, I think that's what kind of it happened at the same time. Kind of, I got healthier, and then I sort of went through some sort of, I guess people would call spiritual awakening, or some. I basically just had those feelings that there's more to life, and there's like something beyond just like that. That's finally clicked for me. And yeah, I don't know. I think just filling your body with the correct things just made my brain ask some some different questions that I've never really thought about before. And I think again, it for me it always comes down to this like aspect of being in some sort of union with nature, or some sort of relationship kind of thing with nature, where I almost started seeing like not nature as like God, but like nature as like the experience, and like this sort of comforting thing that we're all here to experience. And that sort of also opened my mind up to, okay, so why are we here, and how did we get here? And maybe we did it actually to get this experience, and that is what this life is about. And yeah, I don't know, it's a hard thing, again, as I said, for me to put into words, because I don't really talk about my philosophical thoughts or anything like that a lot. It's just something that sort of, I guess, happens more or less internally. So yeah, you'd have to be a little more specific with what exactly you, yeah, what exactly my views are on a particular thing.
Yeah, and then Well, this is one of the things you talked about. I watched part of your one of the documentaries you made about the called You Are Christ that kind of had I guess part of that idea is that like we're all somehow related to one another because we are made in the image of God. And I guess just that doesn't have to relate to health or any of the things that you've talked about, but just what is your kind of worldview with respect to God and religion and
Mm,
that sort of thing?
yeah. So initially, I felt very drawn to Christianity at some point in my journey, and again, I think I went through what a lot of people go through when they sort of go from not being religious or anything at all, like basically atheist and very much in the world and all of that, to having this sort of awakening. Some naturally feel drawn to religion, and there's probably some sort of cause for that we could talk about. But I felt that, and I got really into the like dogmatic aspects of it, and that really I felt was taking me away from my soul and from what I was really searching. Um, it basically put the power outside of me and onto some church or some preacher or some priest, and I felt that was not helpful for how I wanted to look at this stuff. So again, something naturally happened that sort of took it more within, and I started learning more about sort of esoteric concepts and stuff like that, and really this idea of oneness, and that we are basically God having an experience here, and we are just like a very narrow band of frequency of this whole, which is the whole frequency. And that, yeah, I think my view about, like, I would say my my idea of like the whole gnostic angle and stuff like that is that there is something here that is holding us back and holding us, like, imprisoning us basically. And I think I agreed with that a lot as well, that I really feel there is some force or some psychological aspect of this world or some sort of psychotic thing. There's like literally like holding us prisoners. Maybe it's ourselves that's doing it, I don't know. But I think there's a truth in that. But I also think that the goal is not like escaping from here or not having this experience. That was never my idea. I think like the holy grail or the goal is literally this experience, and when we are fully like embodied and without all the bullshit and all the cultural assumptions and all that stuff, is literally what God had in mind when he created this video game or reality or experience or whatever we are having. I think that he wanted, I'm saying he, you know what I mean, you can't really describe God, but he sent himself down here because he wanted to have the experience of isolation and separation. And in doing that, he made everything, including nature, have the function of being able to support this life, whatever happened, and that the only thing this life had to be was just be and express the unique version of themselves that they were, and then everything was going to be fine. And then some sort of schism kind of happened, which is described by the Gnostics and stuff like that. And I feel like that's what took us out of the like Garden of Eden mindset, and that going back to that is literally like just just being in the world instead of having all these things over our head all the time that like force us into things that we don't really want to do. We abandon our soul and we abandon all this stuff. I think if we just find back into that self, into that sort of heart center, then we sort of find God in this experience. And then I don't know if there's anything beyond that. There probably is, but I don't think I can conceptualize that in my mind. So that's, I would say, my view of God.
Nice, amazing. I won't keep you too long because I know that it's very late for you
So good.
over there. I guess I like to kind of ask all of my guests. I don't know if you've seen my YouTube channel, but like I'll just ask like what is your advice for me going forward? You know, I'm still young, trying to figure things out. Like what is your general advice from what you've seen?
Yeah. So yeah, again, I think it's very impressive that you are this young, I just want to say, and that you are taking an interest in these sorts of areas and stuff. I could never imagine myself like the person I was when I was around your age. Like I was just not like at all at this environment. I was using the internet for a lot of stuff that I shouldn't be, and I think you're using it for a lot of good stuff. Is what I'm trying to say. So I really hope you will use the technology for helpful things as you're doing right now, I think, and continue that route. And you have, I mean, I think you're going to have such incredible opportunities if you know how to use this technology that we have in front of us right now. And that's what I'm trying to do as well. So I'll just encourage you to really try to use that as wisely as possible. And then again, as I've been talking about in this talk, I would just really advise you and anyone listening to try to go within with all of the things that you are gonna have to make choices about, whether that's school, whether that's what to eat, what to do with your life, where to move, and all this stuff. Try to not have your family and friends and your close people make those decisions, and try to just stick to what your intuition tells you. I think that's a very good thing to do, in my opinion.
Amazing. Thank you so much for coming on. Where can people find you? What are your links you'd like to plug?
Yeah, so you can find me on YouTube. I'm Jonas West. You can find me on Instagram. Jonas_West is the same for Twitter or X or whatever they call it nowadays. Jonas West. And yeah, that's the primary ones. So take a look at those if you want to learn more about the stuff I talk about.
Amazing. Thank you so much. Have a good night. Take care.
Thank you, man. You too.